type it, and your character will say it. Max.
How is work going, Mr.
120
Smith?
chars.
Very well, Mr. Shrimp, and how about your work?
Very well. And are you still coming for the Super Bowl? Are you coming to Miss Turner to the Super Bowl party?
Yes, Mr. Smith.